Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Go Big or Go Home. I'm Old Man Troy, joined by the marvelous youngster Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. What's shaking today, my friend, other than making me wait to do a show?
Very true. Typically on Tuesdays.
Usually I'm the one that makes you wait.
Yeah. The last few months on Tuesdays, I've been working until 4, but my schedule has kind of shifted as of today, this morning. So I go till 5 on Tuesdays. So that's when we're recording the show, by the way, is Tuesday.
Which a normal Tuesday will be fine because my meetings usually last till 5. Today, there was no meeting, so I just had a regular work day. But normally on meeting day when I leave and go on the nice, wonderful parkway in Pittsburgh, we usually don't start that show till 4:45, 5 o'clock anyway, because I usually not out of my meeting till then. But so we'll be fine. Don't worry, folks. You're not going to be missing any shows. We're not going to let you off the hook that easy. You have to put up with us forever.
There you go. There you go.
So interesting weekend, youngster. I know you text me, but honestly, on Saturday night, I was so burned out, like literally just burned out from the week, and I really wanted to concentrate on the Badger game, so I turned my phone off. And I didn't turn my phone back on because I have a dual phone, like a work phone, and I use it as my personal phone. But I'm like, you know what? I'm at home on a Sunday, and Saturday night, I'm watching the Badger game. I don't want to be interrupted. I turn it off. Right. Then on Sunday, got up, did what we do on Sunday morning, the things around the house. I'm just like, I don't need my phone. What do I need my phone for? Then I sat down and watched the Packer game. I'm like, I don't need my phone. Yeah. And I turned it on 7 o'clock on Sunday night just to look at my schedule for Monday because I had to look at some stuff. I'm like, oh, youngster text me. I'll catch him tomorrow or Tuesday, whatever day. Because by then I'm like, well, he texted me on Saturday night. I really can't respond to this text on Sunday. But and then you text me today. Am I good? You hadn't heard from me. But it was one of the. You ever get in that mood where you're just like, no, I just don't want to deal with the world. I wasn't even on. Oh, go ahead.
I decided this a few years ago, Troy. I'm 28 years old, but I decided this a few years ago that I don't care about Facebook anymore. I just don't care about Jimmy and Billy from my high school and, them talking about literally whatever, whether it's sports, whether it's Ohio State football, whether it's, politics and God. I just decided to not, and, not that I 100% cared before, but I would go on Facebook like the average, 22, 25-year-old would do a few years ago, but I just decided I just don't care anymore. The only reason I'm on Facebook now is to push my content that I do for the site I write for. They've got
our show,
a ton of different pages for those sites that I push content for. So that's literally the only time that I'm on Facebook. I have a picture from I don't even know what as my profile photo. I don't even have wedding photos on there. So, and that was over a year ago. So to me, Facebook, I just don't care. I just don't care about it. If I care about you, if I really care about your life, I will text you. I will, whatever. If I care about you, then I'm in contact with you, basically. If I really care, I'll contact you. Like Troy, I contacted you this weekend. I care about you. So,
Yeah, and then you asked me today if I was okay because you hadn't heard from me.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of bad. I felt bad, but there are times, youngster, where I just literally, I wasn't even on social media this weekend. I didn't even post our show from Saturday, the archive. The only reason I was on the computer this weekend was to do my sports book in DraftKings. Don't you know, normally on Saturday on college football day, I'll go onto the show site, I'll go onto my personal site, and I'll push a little bit of our content. I didn't really push anything this weekend. I just wasn't in that feeling mode. I just don't want to be out there. But, enough of our griping about social media, because a lot of our fans, that's where they find us. That's what they like. Good for you. Continue to follow us at Youngster Old Man. We will get on. Just sometimes the old man gets in a little, I don't know what you call it, a little caboodle, and just doesn't want to deal with the whole social media thing. But Youngster, what a weekend. Championship game. I told you, I think not on a show. I think I just told you personally that as far as a Badger fan goes, or maybe I did on a show, I don't remember. We do so many. That I was happy in the fact that the Badgers were able to play in the championship game. I was not sure if they were going to make it back. So for those fans that are like all now up in arms and all mad that the Badgers lost to the Buckeyes, I am totally pleased with the Badgers season. I know once you get to the championship game, the expectations are like, oh, here we go. But I was also real. Like, Ohio State's probably going to win this game. I am really just happy that the Badgers put together a really solid season to go back to the championship game. And like I told you in the pregame, something told me on Saturday afternoon, take the Badgers in the points. Take the 16. The line's up to 16. Take the 16. I took the 16, Youngster. Happy old man as that game was going on. And that was, I was excited the first half, but I even told my son, comes down at halftime, it's like they're playing well. I'm like, yeah, but Ohio State has got too much firepower that they're going to come back and win this game. The Badgers can't hang for 60 minutes. So I'm still happy. It's disappointing that they lost 34-21, but hey, it's there. I was happy with the game that they got there. And, the Buckeyes, Kevin, I told you this earlier in the year. My only concern is they haven't been tested. They haven't had any adversity in the game. Yeah. And so for this championship game to not be a blowout, and I know a lot of Buckeye fans were expecting 56-10, 49-7. Right. If I'm a Buckeye fan, I'm loving that they had to fight for this one. Yep. Because now they've got possibly two games. And they're not going to be 56-10. They could be. I mean, not impossible, but highly unlikely that they're winning by 46. So for me, Kevin, I look at this game, and I'm not going to divulge into the game itself. But as far as the overall layout of this game, the Buckeyes having adversity in the game, having to overcome a deficit, having to fight for 60 minutes, I think it'll benefit them now that they move into the college football playoff. And I know we're going to talk about the rankings. As far as those come out, I'll let the cat out of the bag. Ohio State fell to 2. LSU went to 1. I'm not going to sit here and get into debate about it. I think LSU and Ohio State are 1A and 1B. It is what it is. LSU, a little more convincing over Georgia. Ohio State with that struggling game against Wisconsin for a little bit. Hey, the committee decided let's put LSU at number 1. But I think they're 1A and 1B. People want to debate and break down game by game and resume, and Ohio State deserves, you know what? At the end of the day, you still got to win 2 games. You got to win 2 in the playoff. So I'm not going to sit here and when you go over the rankings and how the playoff committee came out with them, you're not even going to hear me say a peep other than, hey, if they could have had Ohio State 1, I would have been fine with it. LSU is 1, I'm fine with it. Because I think at least they got the top 2 right. They got 1 and 2 right. So as far as how they are, could you flip-flop them? Sure. But I'm not going to sit here and get my undies in a bundle because Ohio State fell to 2. All right, your turn. I took up a lot of time.
They got the top 4 right. There was zero drama as to who the 4 teams would be. The only drama whatsoever was would Ohio State be 1 or would LSU be 1. That was the only drama whatsoever. Everyone knew there would be the top 2 in some order. Everyone knew Clemson would be 3. Everyone knew Oklahoma would be 4. There was no, look, the Pac-12 winner. No, Pac-12 was done because there was an upset there. And there was nobody else. There was nobody else to step in other than Oklahoma. Unless you had I don't even know what. I don't even know who was 5. I don't even know who ended up as 5. I really don't.
So, youngster, as we're on the rankings, I'm going to throw that out here because people are like, oh, Utah, what a golden chance. You said you thought they would have been in if they would have won. I mean, maybe they're having the lightning in the bottle year, and maybe that's how they would have won, different blood in there. But really, I watched that Oklahoma game, and I watched the Utah game. If we're going by eye test, and really to me the top four and this playoff really should be an eye test, I think Oklahoma's better than Utah.
No, probably.
So if Utah would have won, like you said, they probably would have by default slid into 4. But I think Oklahoma's actually a better team than Utah, and by Utah losing, there's no debate to happen. Pretty easy for this year's playoff. But had Utah won after watching both of those games, and now I haven't watched every game, every minute of Oklahoma and Utah football.
Yeah.
But based on high-pressure championship games, Oklahoma looked like a better team.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But again, like you said, not a lot of drama with the 4 that are in the playoffs.
Yeah. My last thing on that is, again, you can look at resumes and everything, and, Ohio State fans can be PO'd that they have to play Clemson, and it's like, if you're the best team anyway, like you're a Buckeye fan, you're mad that you got number 2 instead of number 1. If you think they're the number 1 team anyway, it doesn't matter who they play. They're going to beat whoever the number 3 team is regardless. Now you're going to cry because they got number 2 and so they have to play Clemson? Who cares? You think they're the best team anyway. And I'm an Ohio State fan. Like, I want Ohio State to be number 1 and have to play Oklahoma, who I think is worse than Clemson too. But if you think you're the best team anyway, it doesn't make a difference. They should beat Clemson on a neutral field regardless. So who cares? Just because it's harder, you're going to cry about that? I think that's so ridiculous. It's such garbage. Like, that didn't piss me off, but it's just so stupid. Like, you're actually going to complain.
Yeah, it's out
there.
2. It's out there, youngster. I saw it all over.
It's ridiculous. You think you have the best team, and yet you're crying because your road is a little more difficult and you have to play one of the, number 3 instead of number 4? That's so insane. It's not as though Ohio State got shafted to a number 4 seed in the NCAA tournament of basketball as opposed to a 1 seed. And it's like, well, gee, now we have to play a number 13 to start instead of a 16. Now we probably have to play a number 5.
Just bring it home real to football. It's not like they went to number 3. Then you can have something to complain about, like, whoa, how do we fall to 3?
Even if it was 3. Even if it was 3, then you play the number 2 team again on a neutral field. You're not going anywhere. This team doesn't have to go to South Carolina and play Clemson. You're going to Nowheresville.
Wow,
in Arizona.
They're all worked up today. Getting all worked up over the ranking.
You think you have the best team in the country and you're going to cry because you have to beat another team that's a little better than Oklahoma? It's just stupid. You're better, so shut up and just beat them. And then you get to play LSU or Oklahoma anyway. Doesn't make a difference to me. But, So, again, if Ohio State is really the best team, they will beat Clemson anyway. That's my point. It's stupid to get mad at that. Doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, going back to the Big Ten.
Fans. Always something, Kevin.
Ridiculous.
Always got to have something. They just can't. They just can't move on down the road and just let life happen. Kind of like me getting away from social media for 2 days. I didn't even miss it. Didn't even miss it a bit. And because of what you talked about, that's why I don't miss it. Yeah. Why do I want to read about that stuff? But again, Kevin, I don't know if you have anything on the game. I wanted to give my props to Wisconsin, the team that I cheer for. The loyal listeners that listen in know I'm from Wisconsin. Badgers are my team. I cheer for them. I'm happy. My expectations, I wanted them to contend with the possibility to get to that game. But we talked about it in the preview show, Kevin. That division, I don't want to say it was tough. We thought it would be pretty competitive. But as the season went on, it pretty much came down to a 2. I guess if you want to throw Iowa up in there, maybe a 3-team race. But it became pretty evident about 5 games in, that it was going to be Minnesota and Wisconsin battling it out. And so as a Badger fan, I'm excited because I think this could have been a learning year for a lot of young guys because the expectations weren't going to the championship game like they had been in years past. Years past, it was like Wisconsin's number one in that division. Wisconsin's number one. Wisconsin's number one. This year, there was a little bit, and I like that word adversity today for this team. And they went out and played, and I thought that defense was 10 times better because I wasn't quite sure what kind of product they'd be putting on the field this year after losing a lot of guys. And so that defense, to me, really overexceeded, and that can also be a detriment to next year because now you've proven to me how good you can be, and if they're not, then my expectations are shot. And for Ohio State, Kevin, I already gave my 2 cents worth on this. I'm kind of happy the game was close for Ohio State to prepare and know we've got to play on our A game. We let Wisconsin hang around in a game. They had a lead on us. We can't let that happen against a Clemson. We can't let that happen against an LSU or an Oklahoma, or we'll be going home early. So I think it was kind of a wake-up call as Wisconsin. And, again, I want to give credit to Wisconsin, but I also don't think Ohio State was playing on top of their game. And I think now this prepares them for the playoff. That's all I got on the game, youngster. You can take it any way you want to right now.
Yeah, if you're Wisconsin, it kind of hurt that you were only up 21-7 because, again, you knew Ohio State would wake up at some point, and I thought the first drive of the second half was going to be monumental as far as how the game would shift or play out, I should say, because it was 21-7. Ohio State was getting the ball first in the second half, and it's like, well, you get the entire halftime to design how your first drive goes, and you get to make all the adjustments you want. And speaking of adjustments, I'll get to that after. But I do have a point on adjustments, and Ryan Day talked about in-game adjustments that I thought was awesome. But so you have all this time, and you have halftime, and okay, here's our first drive, and it was kind of a broken down third down play where Justin Fields escaped the pocket, and Olave, the wide receiver, broke out of his route, realized what was happening on the play, and just darted to the end zone, and he found himself wide open, and Justin Fields got him the ball. But it's like, if that didn't happen, if that third down play didn't happen, I mean, then you're looking at a punt. Wisconsin has the ball back, up 21-7. You just stop Ohio State in the third quarter. Who knows where that game goes from there? But then Ohio State had a bunch of momentum with that play, and then 2 plays later, Rucker, the tight end, had that one-handed catch in the end zone. So that got momentum started. Then Wisconsin, I think that was the possession. The punter just dropped the ball, and that just got the ball rolling. And it was a 27-0 run in the second half. I mean, so that was the game. The momentum completely shifted there, which, again, if it was going to happen, it was going to happen early when Ohio State got the ball first. So I just thought that was a massive drive. And then Ryan Day, I don't know if it was after the game or if it was before the game a few days, whatever. He talked about in-game adjustments, and we always talk about this as radio hosts, as media people, as whoever that talks about football, that, okay, it's one thing to go into a game and have a game plan and, oh my God, you realize it's not working. Or maybe you go into a game and you score first, or you stop the other team first, and then as the game goes on, things happen and it just falls apart. There are such things as in-game adjustments. I think every fan knows that. But we also talk about how halftime, and it's like, okay, what adjustments do you make at halftime to change the game in the second half to go your favor? And Ryan Day is like, no, I anyway, try to make adjustments series by series. I mean, you look and see what works, what doesn't, and I'm sure every football coach that can do this does this. But after every series, okay, if we just went 3 and out and 2 things clearly didn't work on that drive, you know how to counteract that on the following series. Or if you're sitting there and running J.K. Dobbins 8 times down Wisconsin's throat one series and you score a touchdown, you know damn well the next series that you should probably run J.K. Dobbins down their throat again, because that's what's probably going to work. So it's not even just halftime adjustments. In football, I mean, it's so stagnated, especially if you're focused only on offense or only on defense, that you can go and, not necessarily design plays on the fly, but you have plenty of plays in your playbook that you're personnel knows, and you can go by whatever is working, or whatever is not working, scrap that and say this isn't working, So I just thought that was a big thing, and I'm not saying Ryan Day is the master, in between series football X's and O's, game changer, but I do think that is a thing where if you do have a A-plus level coach, and again, I'm not calling Ryan Day that, but if you have a really elite coach, I think that while the game is going on, not just at halftime during that 15-minute period, but as the game goes on, series by series, you can change things or stick with it if it's obviously working in a game. But I just think that's something that literally never gets talked about, is not just halftime adjustments, but literally as the game is going on, And if something's not working the first two series, okay, screw that. Let's go with this, and see how that works. So anyway, just thought I would mention it because, again, I never really hear that talked about, literal in-game adjustments, not just made at halftime. But in any case, unless you got anything more, Troy, we can get to the 9 Big Ten teams that are going bowling this postseason.
All right. Yeah, move on. Let me grab a pillow. Let me grab a blanket. Okay, so loyal listeners that have listened to this show, this is our third football show, third season doing football. Know how much, Kevin, I love a 6-6 team going to a bowl game.
Yeah.
Again, I'm an old school guy. That means you're a mediocre team. Why do you deserve a bowl game?
If you go 6-6, by the way, if you go 6-6, you can go 3-0 against Cupcakes and then go 3-6 in the Big Ten and make it. That's possible. So you can be very below average and take a bowl game too.
It's just like that old adage that everyone gets a trophy. Basically, just be 500, be average, be mediocre, like you said, below average. I like what you brought up, Kevin. 3-6 in the Big Ten. You can go 3-0 in the Cupcake schedule.
There you go.
I really think the bowl selection, they won't because it's all about money. But as a fan, do I really? If I'm not a fan of that program, why would I want to watch 2 6-6 teams battle on December 22nd?
Yeah.
I don't. Now, I will because I'll probably do something on Sportsbook. Yeah, and I got a problem with Sportsbook. I got a betting problem. But I don't have a gambling problem. There's a difference. And some people will be like, what? I bet within my means. Like, I'm not out there throwing thousands of dollars out on the table and mortgaging my house. I do it as a hobby. I like to be right. You know that, youngster. I do the parlay every night. I do it because I'm not trying to make $1 million because I'm not betting big. It's more for the I know how to pick games type thing. But back to my point. These mediocre teams, youngster, and they keep adding bowl games and adding bowl games. We've had this discussion on prior years. When I grew up, there was 12 bowl games? 12. Something like that. Maybe more.
Yeah.
Maybe a few more. Now there's 800 kabillion. And 2 years ago, 5 and 7 teams had to get into bowl games because there wasn't enough teams available for competition. That's ridiculous. Right. And I think your point, the 3-6, I think the bowl committee are there. And again, it'll never happen because of finances. But you should have to be 500 in your conference to be invited to a bowl. At least then we know that you're somewhat good.
Yeah.
Because you won half your conference games.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. You can be 3-6 in the Big Ten, and you could have played the likes of, nothing against UW Whitewater as they keep advancing, but you're a D1 school. You could have played UW Whitewater. You could have played St. Francis, PA. You could have played, Joe Blow down the road and got 3 easy wins. And then you're 3-6, and we're 6-6. We're bowl eligible. Oh, we're going bowling. Who the hell cares?
Right.
I don't. And so I think these bowls are all watered down. Way too many of them. Again, I also agree. I know why part of it they've done it. is so that teams can get that extra practice time in. But Kevin, a lot of times, I mean, these teams that are 6-6, everyone's going to play. But if I'm on a 6-6 team and I'm the stud, do I really want to play in one more game if I'm going to the NFL or have a chance to go to the combine? Why would I play? And I've totally changed my focus on this. When the Leonard Fournette thing happened, at first I was like, how can you let your team down? I was a college athlete. I was a college coach. You need to play. You've committed to the school. And I wasn't like cement foot, oh, right, yeah. But that was my initial thought. Yeah. But then the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, why? Why are you even playing? If you're going to be a top 10 pick, why step on the field? Why lace up your cleats and get hurt? Why? Why do it?
I don't remember if McCaffrey did that or not as well at Stanford. I think he did.
He did.
I think it was a year
that was
after
the same year.
Fournette. Oh, was it the same year?
I believe it was the same year.
I think there was one other high-profile guy before that year then that did it. I don't remember who did it. But yeah, and we even saw Jadeveon Clowney basically, not try sit out at South Carolina. Yeah. So, I mean, and now I think you're going to start, if the XFL does actually do decently, you can see sophomores, like Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. He's a sophomore. He's the quarterback at Clemson. And what does he have to prove next year at Clemson to be a top 5 pick, let alone the top 1 pick in the 2021 draft? Nothing, basically. Just don't get hurt.
That's my only thing with the XFL, Kevin. He's not going to get the NFL money. And if you go out there and play in the XFL and all of a sudden get an injury, there's a huge risk to that. I understand what you're saying, but there's a huge risk.
Yeah. He can get paid if he wants to. Like, you don't have to be a junior to go to the XFL. So, that's potentially an option down the line for some kids. You see it in basketball. Some random 5-star kid decides to not go to Duke or Kentucky. He decides to go play in China because he can make $1 million playing in China before he goes to the NBA. So, I don't think that's crazy either for some of these kids to do. If you need $1 million for your family, then why would you go to Kentucky and make nothing? Yeah.
So, all right, let's roll through these bowl games.
Yeah. Here we go. The Red Box Bowl, Troy. I know you know this one. I'm sure you went to this game.
I haven't used Red Box in like 6 or 7 years. Does anybody still use Red Box?
I see them,
but I never see anybody at a Red Box anymore.
You don't need to. You know how they're still alive though, Troy, is because the Red Box Bowl.
Well, that's probably.
Right. Oh. So that's why it's a thing, so they can make money.
I think we're going to have more fun making fun of the bowl names than actually the participants in the bowl game. So who's in the Red Box Bowl?
You got Illinois and California. One thing for fans, too, to note, we're going to be ending the show soon. This is our last topic of conversation. We're not going into the in-depth, X's and O's here of these games. Once we actually get to the week in front of these games, maybe we can look semi into it and talk about the game itself for 3 minutes. But right now I'm just kind of basically listing these. If there's something to note, then I will. But December 30th, the Red Box Bowl, Illinois against California. So there it is, December 30th. The New Era Pinstripe Bowl, Michigan State versus Wake Forest on December 27th. Some of these
is that at Yankee Stadium?
It is. So that's, if you turn it on your television as a Big Ten fan, at least there's, at least it looks a little different. It looks cool. If you're Michigan State, you went 6-6. This is a disappointment. But again, for the average bowl viewer sitting there on your couch, you can flip on the New Era Pinstripe Bowl on December 27th and say, hey, there's a Big Ten team, and look, it's at Yankee Stadium. It looks a little different. So anyway, again, also the note I wanted to make, too, was don't go by the dates in terms of importance. Like, I know there's games on, like, this next one here, the Gator Bowl, January 2nd. Like, that takes place after not only the Rose Bowl and stuff like that, but even the semifinals of the college football playoff are on December 28th. So some of these bowls take place, like, January 6th, and it's like,
Well, it's because there's so many they can't have them all in the same weekend.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty
so
soon
it's spread over a couple weeks.
It's going to be like a 3-week bowl period pretty soon. Right. Everybody's just going to get invited to a bowl.
Yeah. But anyway, so that Gator Bowl, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, Tennessee versus Indiana, January 2nd. Again, people want to talk about Big Ten versus SEC, and it's like, I didn't even know Tennessee was good enough to get to 6 win. But also, it's a bowl game. You will have guys sitting out. You will have guys redshirting because they played 4 games already. You will have guys not wanting to burden their red shirt. You will have, whatever the case is. You can't make a case for the Big Ten's better than the SEC because the Big Ten goes 7-2 in its bowl games. It doesn't matter. Like, they're exhibition games. Who cares? I'm saying that before the bowl season starts, not afterwards. If the Big Ten goes 2-7, I'm not going to be sitting there saying, "Oh, look, it doesn't matter because the Big Ten went 2-7." No, I'm saying it now. If they go 9-0, it means nothing.
Well, they'd be 10-0, youngster. They'd be 10-0 if Ohio State wins both.
Right. Yeah, if Ohio State wins, then that actually means something. But these exhibition games are literally exhibition games. So.
But even then, youngster, and not to get off the subject like we do a lot. Yeah. If Ohio State wins the national championship, you can't correlate, the Big Ten is a better conference because Ohio State is Ohio State. It's its own entity. Yeah. We've discussed why we believe the Big Ten is the best football conference, and it's top to bottom. Yeah, they got 9 teams in bowls, and I air quoted. And as much as I sit here and complain about 6-6 teams going to a bowl, part of the reason the Big Ten has 9 is because when you get to the middle tier, you have competitive football now. Yeah, you got the bottom, you got your Rutgers, and you had Northwestern this year. But there's games in there you can't close your eyes and say, I'm going to roll over you unless you're Ohio State. But, this was the first year Ohio State didn't lay a poo-poo because they had the last 2 years team, 2 years, Kevin, to a team in the middle of the conference.
Yep.
So, okay, continue.
One thing I want to mention, too, Indiana, it's actually impressive what Indiana's done. Like, it's not just, look, they made their first bowl game in however many years, their 3rd bowl game since 93. It's not just that. It's not, this team went 5-4 in the Big Ten, too. Like, you can go 8-4. I guess you can't really go 8-4, and, but.
Yes, Indiana is bowl worthy.
5-4. Yeah.
They're bowl worthy in my mind. And they're going to a bowl that I actually recognize that has been around for a while. So good job, Indiana.
Yeah. Another bowl game that you probably recognize, Troy, the Holiday Bowl. It's Iowa against USC this year, December 27th. So, again, you can't look at these and say that it's a great matchup because, again, you don't know who's going to be playing, who's going to, whatever. But it's the Holiday Bowl. You've heard of it. It's Iowa. It's USC. Okay, cool. That one's worth throwing on the television in the background for your average fan, So I think that'll be a solid one to watch. I think it'll be cool. The Outback Bowl, also people have likely heard of that. Minnesota versus Auburn. Again, cool little matchup, something to throw on the television. And, January 1st. Again, not going in depth on these games until we actually get right there. And again, we're also not going to go super in depth when they happen. But in any case, Citrus Bowl, also January 1st. That's Michigan against Alabama. That's cool because Alabama's in there. Could be Jim Harbaugh's last game at Michigan. Who knows? Or
I think it will be.
Could have already coached his last game. We'll see.
He may not even coach in it. Who knows?
Right. Let's see here. Cotton Bowl. This one's interesting. Penn State, Cotton Bowl is December 28th. Penn State against Memphis. Because it's Memphis, it's different. I think they're the highest ranked group of 5 school, I believe. That's right. So, again, Memphis in a New Year's Six game, they'll be, most likely, they'll be trying. They'll be, obviously had a quality season. So that'll be cool. to see. Rose Bowl, obviously January 1st. Wisconsin against Oregon. Good for Wisconsin making the Rose Bowl. Penn State, Penn State that was kind of the debate, is Wisconsin and Penn State, who would get in the Rose Bowl. That's up to those committees to decide. But I thought it was right to have Wisconsin instead of Penn State, because Wisconsin made the Big Ten title game for a reason, and Wisconsin gave Ohio State the biggest scare they did all year. So I thought that was worthy. I think Wisconsin, Oregon, again, it's a cool matchup. It should be, interesting. So unless you got more on that, Troy, the only one left is the Fiesta Bowl, which is Ohio State and Clemson.
No, I got nothing. I mean, like you said, I have no need to have to go into these games and predict the winners and all that stuff. But I'm happy. I'm happy the Big Ten has 9 teams in. I mean, you look at the conference and getting 9 teams in. That does say something about the conference. And now it'll be the big debate record-wise at the end of this. Ooh, well, this conference will blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I really don't.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you got 9 teams in. That is great. We talked about basketball last year with the amount of teams they're getting in. And Big Ten athletics is, just becoming one of the very good conferences for athletics across the country. Off the cuff, Kevin, you were writing about lacrosse last year. And, Big Ten sending teams to the final. Big Ten teams win. It's all sports, not just the big money makers. I mean, Big Ten athletics is awesome. So, no, I got nothing else. Move on to the Fiesta. Let's have a Fiesta.
Also, the one thing I want to note, too, the ACC, how everyone talks about how Clemson played nobody, and Clemson had, terrible strength of schedule, yada, yada, yada. They won games literally by over 39 points a game this year, and that included the 1-point win over North Carolina. To show what bowl games mean, there are 10 ACC teams in bowl games this year. 10. 10 from the ACC. And people make fun of the ACC. So, just goes to show.
That's a lot of 6-6 teams.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't go through the list, but yeah, there were definitely a few in there. So anyway, Fiesta Bowl. Again, not going to get into this game a ton right now this second, because the game is in 18 days. But Ohio State, Clemson, I don't even know what to say about this. It's in Arizona. As far as fans traveling, I know Clemson has built up a fan base recently. And obviously, if you're from South Carolina and that's you're not a South Carolina Gamecocks fan, then you can root for Clemson. I understand that. But Clemson will send fans out. I'm sure Ohio State will have a slight advantage there, probably 60-40 or so. But it just is what it is. If Ohio State got the 1 seed, they would have to play Oklahoma. I think it's Texas, or I don't remember what it is. It's some place down south. So it's not even as though, Ohio State missed out on playing in Minneapolis or Indianapolis or, wherever. This is going to be a neutral site game no matter what for Ohio State, realistically. I'll say that. Any other thing to really note here? I don't think so. I mean, again, we'll get more into this game when it comes close. But again, it's 18 days away at this point, from the time we're talking about this. So
a lot of things will happen in my life in 18 days, youngster. I could hit on one of those NBA parlays, and we could own a radio station by then.
There you go.
You never know. Last night's parlay that I played. I had a free bet from the weekend with some of the, just throwing this out there because I have fun. So it was a free $5 bet, right? So I did the NBA parlay last night with 12 teams. I did not do well. I was 8-4, so I wasn't even close. But the total payout, had I got all 12 right with the way that I did my combos, would have been worth $3,400, youngster. I mean, that's not enough to buy a radio station, but I saw it when I tallied it up. I'm like, that would be nice in the pocket before Christmas. But yeah, I was 8-4, so I didn't do so well. But.
Fair enough.
All right, youngster, what else? I think we got one more thing.
Last thing, before we can let the listeners go here. The spread has come out for these college football playoff games, and just take a quick stab at it, Troy. Clemson, Ohio State. Neutral field.
Ohio State by 6.5.
Clemson's favored by 2. So for all those people, doubting Clemson, and Vegas thinks they're the better team, like legitimately. And coming into this year, my last note here, coming into this year, Clemson was supposed to be one of the most dominant teams in college football history because of the offense that they had everybody returning. And that was a team that beat, Alabama and scored, 40, 50 points on Alabama a year ago. And yet here comes the whole offense back. And
I might have to get in on that bet tonight then.
There you go.
I can't see the line going higher than Clemson by 2. I don't see it going up to 3 or anything like that, but I think Ohio State's going to win. I'll let the cat out of the bag. I really do.
I think so. But
so for me to get Ohio State in as an underdog, it'll just help my moolah.
I hope so.
The line could change.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 18 days for the line.
Right.
I mean, the Badger game changed when I originally bet. When I was looking at it, Kevin, it went down to 15 on Sportsbook at one point, and then it went to 15.5, and then I believe it was around 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, it went to 16. I don't know what it closed at, but I got in at 16. So,
yeah.
I mean, these lines change all the time. They can change it by the hour. So I don't know if it'll change to Ohio State being favored, but I don't know if I don't think it's climbing to 3. It could go down to 1. I mean, so it doesn't matter. I think Ohio State's going to win. So if I can get them in as the underdog, like I said, just helps my moolah. Woo-hoo!
I hope so. Clemson's a legit opponent, and again, they were the preseason number 1 team for a reason, and their offense is absurd. So it'll be a very nice matchup to watch and break down more in depth, when the time comes. But that's a few weeks away. So
it is 18 days. We'll be talking a lot of basketball in these next 18 days on Go Big or Go Home, and you can find all of our shows at
Ohio State basketball, Troy. I think they're 3rd now. Ohio State number 3 in the country. So, just saying. Illinois also almost beat Maryland the other night. My Illinois team that I'm in love with this year just narrowly escaped and lost.
Yeah, well, the sad part is now, youngsters, these 2 Big Ten games are done and over, so now it's back to foo-foo cupcake games.
Yeah, till January.
Yeah, and it sucks because I can't bet on these foo-foo cupcake games because the line on them is like Big Ten team by like 1,200 or minus 1,200, and so you bet basically you bet $1, you win $1.03. So it's like it's not even worth betting $20 because I'll win $21. So it's like it's not even worth my time to click the button. All right, folks, make sure you find us on Twitter at Youngster Old Man for all of our shows that we do. Hope you enjoyed this show. We'll get back at you next week, same place, same time, for the Youngster. I am the Old Man. Have a good night, everyone.